This is a tiny seed. It looks so small, so fragile, but it has true superpowers. It carries learning from the past, but also hope for the future. And it can literally change your life. From randomly planting some seeds for the first time in my life, I was 36 years old, without really knowing what I was doing, to inspiring millions of people to grow their own organic food, even on a small space. My name is Patrick Vernuccio, aka the Frenchy Gardener, and I will tell you how a tiny seed changed my life and sent me off-road. Honestly, my background has nothing to do with gardening. I worked during 16 years in marketing. I started my career in video games in Paris. I then moved to Amsterdam to work for a streaming company, and then to Berlin to work for e-commerce and fashion. So clearly, my whole life was about digital. I learned so many things. I met highly inspiring people. I had fun. I was being praised, promoted. So what should I complain about? The truth is that I was always going in circle, like a hamster in a wheel, or like a Formula One driver on a racetrack trying to make and to beat the fastest lap every single time. But by doing this, at some point, you're ending up off-road, and the shock can be violent. I was very close to burnout many times, and I realized that I needed to put my hands away from the keyboard to put my hands into soil. So 6 years ago, I went to a gardening center just to buy some random flowers, because my balcony was incredibly sad and empty. I called these empty urban spaces a SOS, a sad outdoor space. At the entrance, of this garden center, I was seeing all these seeds, and I was like thinking, what about having a balcony? It's great to afford having a balcony, but what's the purpose of it if it does not welcome any life? So when I saw all these seeds of tomatoes, lettuce, radish, I was like, I should give this a try. But immediately, I thought about failure. Patrick, come on. You don't know anything about plants. You don't know anything about seeds. You're a guy from the city, and you even managed to kill a cacti. So this will be probably a waste of time and money. But I had this impulse buying act that all city shoppers have. When we want to buy something to buy ourselves a little bit of happiness. But I can tell you now, this was definitely the best impulse buying shopping act I made. And when I was going home, I felt so ignorant. I just asked myself how to start, what to do with these seeds. And I was looking at the lettuce, and I was like, how can I obtain this lettuce? Do I need one seed? Or do I need to throw out the whole package of seeds? As you can see, that was my first try. I just threw out a lot of seeds, and it worked. But I asked myself the question, why I did not learn this at school? It should be part of any basic education. But just by throwing seeds, the magic began. The second turning point was when I discovered permaculture. After a second very close burnout, I decided to leave 3 weeks to Portugal for a permaculture retreat. Permaculture means permanent agriculture. It's not only about gardening practices, it's also a holistic philosophy of life. Earth care, people care, fair share, and sharing surplus. This blown up my mind. I was like, I want to live like this, but how? And at some point, the teacher told me, Patrick, you seem to know a lot about urban gardening. Do you want to give a small module in our course? Wow, I felt so honored. But immediately, I had this imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Do I have interesting things to share? But I did it with my heart. And honestly, I enjoyed sharing about my passion. And I thought to myself, maybe it's something I should pursue. But going off-road, it's actually harder than you think. Sure, if you're driving a car and you're distracted, looking at your phone, yeah, you can end up off-road pretty easily, by accident. But when it's your choice, when you decide for it, it's a little bit more harder. There is always something restraining you from doing what you want. Like a gum under your shoe. There are norms, habits, social pressure, dictating you what your life should be or should not be. There is fear and doubts when we deal with the unknown. In life, when we are scared about something or someone, it's often because of ignorance. We don't know about it, so this is scary, so we tend to avoid it. It is exactly the same when you decide to follow your own path. It's also about losing your label, this social etiquette that defines you. Patrick, the marketing director, Patrick from this big company, Patrick who made this TV interview. But I just wanted to be a different Patrick. So I decided to follow my passion and to use social media. From telling stories about video games and TV series to telling stories about plants. And at some point I said to myself, worst case scenario, after a year, if it does not work, I can still find, a classic job to pay my bills. But I started to share my stories and my own path about growing these small lettuce in pots on my balcony, and tomatoes, and aubergine, and courgettes. And surprisingly, I discovered that people were interested about it, so I continued. And looking back, I was always giving 200% in everything that I do. So it better be on something I truly enjoy, and that has a real purpose and impact. So I'm creating stories about plants. The basil trauma. It had millions of views. We all know the story of this supermarket basil. We buy this little basil. Oh, it's so beautiful, so lush, so fresh. Ah, it smells so good. But after a few days, it will die. And it will make you think that you don't have a green thumb. But this has nothing to do with you. If your basil is dying, it's because there are too many plants in this small pot. It's not your fault. There is not enough nutrients to feed the soil and the plants. But if you divide this basil into smaller group of plants and that you repot it into individual pots, you can have a lot of basil. And you can also have endless basil by propagating it into water. That's the generosity of nature. And that's essential knowledge to transmit. Knowing that by 2050, 68% of the global population will live in urban areas. There is a high risk to keep losing this connection with the food that we have in our plates by only cultivating concrete. There is a real need to transform our city life by welcoming back nature. And the good news is that you can transform a balcony, a terrace, a patio, a rooftop, a community garden, a parking lot, or even your windowsills into an organic green oasis. That's the power of gardening. And you have this power in your hands. Because we all have a green thumb. We simply need to put it into practice. And the power of gardening is not only to provide us with food. A garden is a place of insights about life, no matter how big or small your space is. Gardening taught me patience. Because no, you cannot have fresh tomatoes just like this in one click. It requires time, care, patience. It taught me also about collaboration, observing the interaction between insects, plants, fungi, fascinating. But also education. A garden is a platform of education for our children. I'm a happy dad of a 2-year-old son, and honestly, it's such a pleasure to see him in the garden, harvesting, eating, smelling, seeing, being. It's about activating the 5 senses of our children. Because bringing back nature and green can have enormous impact on our children. Green is not a color, it's a necessity. Green improves our concentration, our focus, and our well-being. And studies have shown that children exposed to green develop cognitive functions faster versus children exposed to concrete. And a garden teaches us also about reducing our waste by observing the beautiful cycle of food. From seeds to harvest, to compost, and back to the soil. We do worms composting at home. The first time my son touched an earthworm, it felt so natural for him. For me, I was scared. I was in panic. I was just projecting on him the fear I had all my life before gardening. I could not approach an earthworm or touch one because I was not understanding their role. But trust me, now they are like some of our favorite house pets at home, giving us fresh soil, and our dog is even jealous. Nature made it perfect. There is no waste in nature. There are plenty of resources we can reuse to grow our plants. And gardening is also about reconnecting with seasonality, with our beautiful season, by knowing where our food comes from, how it's growing, when it's growing. It's also about rediscovering taste. We often talk about zero waste. We should talk a little bit more about zero taste. All these supermarket veggies, they look so beautiful from the outside. But from the inside, most of the time, they are empty of nutrients and they are empty of taste. So how can we educate our children to eat healthier if we are giving them empty, tasteless food? So let's shorten our food chain as much as possible so that we can reduce our waste and that we can eat more local, better, and healthier. The ancient Greeks believed into the relation between food and vibrations. The fresher the food is, the highest vibration it would give back to your body. Trust me, there is no shorter food chain than a small balcony or a small garden. You're just a few steps away from your kitchen to enjoy fresh, high vibration food. So yeah, let's be more sustainable. Let's consume better. Because we have the power. We are a collective creating the demand. What we choose to buy, but also what we refuse to buy, can have a direct impact on what is being produced and what will be produced. Do you think big brands have fun challenging and changing their whole products? I don't think so. But they do it looking at consumer insights. We are the consumers. We have this power. We can change. So yeah, sustainability is one step forward. It's actually not optional anymore, it's a necessity. But if we look at it, it's here only to limit our impact, to sustain a status quo. What we truly need is regeneration. Regeneration for our ecosystem, for our people, but also for ourselves. Self-regeneration. It can be anything. It can be a place, a person, an activity. You will invest time and energy in it, but it will give you back so much. True fulfillment, joy, shared happiness. It's about cultivating your happy inner garden. So, what regenerates me? I think that from now you understood. It's growing a garden, it's growing food. But what about you? What I can tell you, there is no age limit to discover a new passion or a new purpose. So that's my story about being off-road, and believe me, I'm still on the ride. And if you are still not convinced to grow a little garden for yourself, at least do it for the new generation. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Thank you so much, and green love to you.